What's up, everybody? Blake the Scholar of Magic, and I've kind of curated the list of some of the spoilers from Edge of Eternities, and also some of the Final Fantasy cards. I think it's kind of like good to review a lot of the cool things that are happening in Magic, and I guess, like mediate the onslaught of sets that kind of come out in such a rapid rate. And I think because a lot of times cards get kind of overlooked and you get a lot of sweet upgrades along the way with a lot of these new sets, some of these cards just kind of filter and kind of go under the radar. But I'm pretty hyped for this set. In terms of like adding good creatures to like a deck such as Greasefang, I'm kind of excited about this set. And one of which is right here, the one that we're going to be showcasing here. So let's get this one going. So the Exalted Sunborn is a 3 generic 2 planes. You get a creature angel wizard flying lifelink. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. So thinking of like a card like Greasefang, would you have like the Rolling Hampshire? You have the Parhelion, you have the Thunderhawk gunship, you have all these like really big bombs that you're always kind of looking for and like kind of entombing into your deck and getting on the battlefield. Like imagine just like doubling up on those tokens and having a nice crew on the battlefield for that simple warp cost. That's really strong. And in addition, you can simply cast this on a later turn. Once it's warped, you get it for that turn, it goes away, and then you can play it from exile for that 5 cost. What a weird card, and what a valuable build around. A very cool card to include in your 99 for Greasefang, there's no doubt about it. So starting off with a banger, I would kind of like before you get so excited about this set, I haven't seen any vehicles yet. What I have been seeing are what we call spacecraft. So let's look at, like, for instance, the Extinguisher Battleship. This card, though, they still look like they could maybe fit into like a Greasefang type of deck because they have like a nice board presence. They will remove something like this when it enters the battlefield. It will remove something. And then it will also have the potential to remove like a board, basically, of creatures that have 4 power or less. And that's not the worst thing with Greasefang, because you're playing so many vehicles and they're not affected by damage if they're not crewed. So this card is also just kind of a very interesting card and an interesting build around to keep into your Greasefang decks. It is still considered an artifact, so if you're playing Brilliant Restoration in your Greasefang piles, then maybe this card is for you still. And it still benefits from tapping other creatures, right? So we do have like very high power creatures in Greasefang, so getting this into like a 10/10 flying trample doesn't seem too hard, does it? So Station is the other mechanic. Station, tap another creature you control, put charge counters equal to its power on the spacecraft. Station only has a sorcery if it's an artifact creature at 5+. So it does become an artifact creature too. It's no longer just considered an artifact spacecraft. So it is considered a creature. So it is susceptible to removal that destroy target creature and stuff. But basically you have high powered things in Greasefang. Tap them down. The requisite of 10 power that you've tapped over that course, and then you have a 10/10 flying trample. Nice. So not so bad. The one that kind of gave me the blue balls, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This one looked like a vehicle, and I was like, oh my god, I want to make a video about this already, because this is going to be like the best Greasefang card I've like ever seen. I was like, this is only 3 mana. This is like a Grim Tutor. You don't lose any life, and you get the potential for this 5/5 flyer, that just basically taps down your sweet stuff like Greasefang. And after when it becomes a creature, your tap creatures have indestructible. And I was like, wow, that's actually kind of a wombo bombo combo with like your Extinguisher Battleship, right? If you can kind of get this thing up to where you need to be, you can play an Extinguisher Battleship in your tapped Greasefangs, and your all your other sweet like creatures that are susceptible to dying with 4 power or 4 toughness or less, all of a sudden are indestructible. So yeah, I thought that was like a really cool. It's still cool, right? So when this enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. I still think it's good enough for the 99. Honestly, for Greasefang, like go ahead and fetch up like an Oswald Photobender, for instance, or whatever else you're rocking. It could be even like your Rotodrobic piles for your Greasefang if you really want to get juicy, right? Yeah, your Sandwells, all those really sweet legendaries that just kind of accrue value for you, that are creatures and are legendary. This is kind of where you want to be with a Siriama. What a card, guys. What can I say? Not a vehicle, but wow, these cards are crazy. So that was kind of the last spacecraft I got to see that stood out was the Eternity Elevator. It seems interesting as well, just for the sheer amount of mana that it could produce. But I don't know how many people are really going to want the Eternity Elevator. I just it's you have to tap down quite a few creatures, to get it up there. But it is kind of like a combo-esque card, isn't it, guys? I could see in like some crazy maybe green piles that is, putting down Galtas and whatever else, and you want to get into huge finale devastations or something. I can maybe see kind of a build around for that, but it'd be very Timmy-like, that's for sure. So there's a spacecraft. There's so many good cards here. This card, I just want to make sure I'm going to go in order from here on out, but these are just also cards that just fit into Greasefang so nicely. Again, another warp card here. You're building your graveyard, so much, right? So in Greasefang, when this particular creature enters, you get that 5/4 on a warp cost for 3, 2 generic, 1 planes. Return target non-creature, non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana. So that could get into our cheaper artifact vehicles. Your Smuggler's Copters, your Reckoner Bank Busters, your Unlicensed Hearst. The list kind of goes on for like your 2 mana bombs for Greasefang. And that can be your 3 mana ones too, like an Austeral Surveyor. You have all those like really nice 3 mana, vehicles as well. There's the, there's just the 3 mana one that animates your artifacts too. Your other vehicles. So a lot of sweet 3 mana vehicles in our wheelhouse. And you get that 5/4 for the turn, a nice crewer, seems very nice. And then later, you can cast it over again and get into your other 5 mana vehicles. And we'll be talking about like those 5 mana vehicles, but even like a 4 mana vehicle, like a Regalia is wonderful. That has haste. And we'll talk about that. These are some of the Final Fantasy cards that kind of went unnoticed. Well, maybe not unnoticed. I noticed them. But we'll be going to talk about those as well for Greasefang. So you can get excited about those as well. But this card is just another amazing creature. What can I tell you guys? It's just basically a randomation spell for your vehicles or permanents in an angel form. I don't know what else to say. It's just nice. Okay, are you guys ready for Elegy Alkalite? This one is amazing, guys. This has some severe Anawan vibes to it. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose a life. So you're telling me I get to spread out my damage to my opponents, and you're going to give me a card for each opponent I hit with it. I don't even have to have a workaround. I just lose a life. That's totally fine. This card is amazing. What an amazing card. And then it has another ability here. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. That's crazy too, because we have stuff leaving the battlefield every turn with Greasefang, sacrificing the things and pop back to your hand with Greasefang as well on the regular, just because of the card design itself. If you're not familiar with Greasefang, this is the Kiba boss. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's at the beginning of your combat. You return a vehicle each time. It gains haste. Return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of your next end step, and you get value because it pops back to your hand. Or you can just sacrifice it on the spot and put it right back in your graveyard. So, yes. this is a crazy card, and it's going to draw a lot. So we love it. Elegy Acolyte, what a fantastic card. This is an interesting one too. Definitely kind of a build around, but the amount of like gasoline that it can give you is amazing. Like, and in fact, how many cards it can give you. Like, you could be discarding the hand side with Greasefang, and that's sometimes fine because you're building your graveyard still. And this is one of those cards that I feel like you could just start if you really wanted to like outvalue your opponent. Maybe you want to like perhaps play cards such as like the Extinguisher Battleship, and you really want to kind of dictate the board and like kind of draw out the game a little bit. I think the Sisuru Secundi would be that kind of card that you like, where it does come in tapped, but you could start tapping down your stuff like immediately, your high-powered creatures, and as long as you've done that, reach the requisite of 12 power of tapping, you can then simply tap this when it's untapped, pay a 1 and a black, pay 2 life, sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power. That's an amazing land. And the mana cost is just right. The coming in tapped, okay. That kind of hurts a little bit. The hoop that you have to start tapping your creatures, that's a little bit more difficult. But in vehicles, we can do that. We have like a high abundance of high power creatures. We make a little powerful, angels, tokens with Parhelion. A lot of our vehicles are just strong in themselves. If we want to take a turn off, if we want to develop some card advantage, Sisuru Secundi could probably be that outlet that helps us get there. And like I said, just a 2-mana investment. You're tapping, paying 2 life, sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power. Wow. So if you're like, you're sacrificing like a Reaver Titan, a 10 power Reaver Titan, that's 10 cards to your hand, and that's no joke for that investment. So maybe a little bit of a build around, but a big high payoff, and especially if you want to get into lots of cards, seems like a very good idea. What else, guys? What else is going on? Well, we also have the Tezzeret, the Cruel Captain, very high costed in terms of monetary, how much money it costs at this time. I think it's $70, $80 card. But I do see like the value of like playing like a Planeswalker in Greasefang too. I like that when artifacts simply enter, put a loyalty counter on Tezzeret, so it's going to be very hard to kill because you have like artifact tokens entering the battlefield, you have vehicles, you just have like, smaller vehicles, you have like a lot of accessory artifacts that are just always being played. So this seems like a nice card. What I do like about it, I do like the untap 0 effect for some of our cards that like to be untapped, like an Oswald Fiddlebender, where we have to tap to use its ability, and like we can basically do it twice on a turn, like basically get like, climb the ladder with Oswald by sacrificing artifacts and getting into bigger ones and taking advantage of that tap ability. Some of our other, creatures that like to be tapped too, basically they'll have like an ability, like you'll get to like search into your library, for instance, when they become tapped, and that's also like a Sandwell. That's really nice, where you could do that on multiple times on a turn by untapping the creature, so you can get into more gas. I like that idea. Actually, I see this for like, oddly enough, for elves. I think it's a stupid card, guys. I hate elves in that manner, how strong they are. I just feel like untapping like a Morrowind or something is just like, my mind just like explodes, because I just, on a 3-mana value creature, it's like, it reminds me of Freyalise in Brawl, if you guys are familiar with that card, and it is really dumb because that's just like so much mana. They just produce so much mana, and it's so easy for them to fetch up like their Crater Hoofs and stuff. So this card is really nasty. The untap a target artifact or creature is a really nasty card. Really nasty elf card, actually. Even if they don't play artifacts, just that untap is just really strong. So I hate it. I hate it for that. But other than that, it's cool. I like the -3 here for like finding Shriek Horns, for instance. You can find your Soul Ring pretty fast too. Yeah, you could find a lot of nasty things, and you just put it right into your hand. So that's pretty fun. I could see why it's very valued. It seems like it has some things. The -7 is kind of just like a, you put like counters on an artifact, and it becomes a robot creature, so whatever. Yeah, it's like a whatever. It's very good. I can say that, guys. This is going to be kind of a nasty one. The Seriema, we've kind of gone over that. Just the fact that you get to tutor a legendary creature for 3 mana and potentially have this 5/5 flyer seems really nice. That indestructible potential for your legendaries seems like a good combo, again, with your Extinguisher Battleship. And we'll probably see that in Constructed, I hope, is like the Extinguisher Battleship and the Seriema. Hopefully there'll be a cool little deck, especially with these angels here. I could imagine in Constructed you have some really nice graveyard stuff going on here. And here's your Virulent Silencer. And this one is also just another sweet card, guys. Really nasty for Greasefang. You can basically win by Infect, which is kind of a nasty. And you do create like a ton of, artifact creatures in that particular pile amongst the vehicles. Like I said, some of the tokens like the Necrolon Monolith creates artifact tokens. Your Cybership creates artifact tokens. So artifact creature tokens. So yeah, each time a non-artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So really nasty stuff. Really nasty uncommon card there. Really nasty, guys. And without further ado, here's some of the Final Fantasy cards that kind of got perhaps got thrown under the rug a little bit because the sets are moving so fast, but they're still relevant. But Regalia is amazing. I think you should slot it into your 99. It's redundant haste if you do resurrect it from the graveyard, but it's just one of those nice, in-the-middle Greasefang vehicle cards. It's not too overcosted just to cast. It has haste already. It's going to fetch you some lands and put them right on the battlefield and get you that beautiful ramp that you need in the Orzhov colors, so you just love to see it. Whenever Regalia attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Crew 1, low crew cost. Now the Falcon actually looks pretty nice, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's great for Greasefang. It's going to have haste. Kind of reminds me of like Smuggler's Boogie, like a card that gets really good if it's hasted, right? So this thing will come out from your graveyard from Greasefang. It's a 4/3 flyer. Whenever the Falcon deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. It's perfect. It already sacrificed itself, so it goes right back to the graveyard for Greasefang. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Love to see it. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Tap. Crew 2. Yeah. Love to see it, guys. The Falcon Airship Restored is beautiful for Greasefang, especially if you're kind of going in that hybrid Greasefang vibes where you're playing a decent amount of creatures, taking advantage of all the very powerful resurrection spells that Magic the Gathering has to offer, like, for instance, Reanimate or Persist. Animate Dead. There's so many good cards that resurrect creatures for a very efficient manner, and yeah, I mean, if you can find that sweet spot for Greasefang, I'd love to see your list. I'm mostly like all in on vehicles for the most part, but I'm just trying to kind of also provide lists that have a decent amount of strong creatures to resurrect as well. Midgar City and Mako. I do believe the land cycle is extremely strong from Final Fantasy. I'm going to do a video here pretty soon where I discuss how many Xanarkans I've purchased. And because I do believe in that card, and it's really good in some of the decks I play. So hopefully I can make you a believer. I think these lands are all very good. This one's still holding that's like $2 value price tag. I foresee these still going up. I think people will understand the value of this land cycle. Maybe not as much as Surveil took off, but I think they're very, very good just to have like the option of playing as a tap land and also sacrificing this like as an adventure and playing for it later as a tap land. I think is extremely strong. Very good. It was very good in limited. I got wrecked by it a lot. It's probably still good enough for like constructed, at least a one of in your decks. And obviously in Commander, you get one card, right? One copy of these specific cards. So I think it definitely deserves a spot, especially in Greasefang, Midgar. All right. And the last Greasefang card that's kind of noticeable from Final Fantasy, from Father to Son. Search your library for a vehicle card, reveal it, put it into your hand. If the spell was cast from your graveyard, put a card in your battlefield instead, then shuffle. How fun is that? And so you have a little bit of flashback there, and you're building your graveyard too, so it's just always value. Love to see it, guys. You know, Greasefang too, just it's going to be ramping. You know, you're going to be doing a lot of good mana things. You know, you have definitely some ways, some creatures that will, you know, love to see things sacrificed, and you can, you know, add mana in that manner as well. So Greasefang is extremely powerful. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this Edge of Eternities kind of look. This card is just amazing. All these creatures are so good. So let me know what you guys think of the new set. I hope you have an excellent day. Cheers. Bye-bye. Like and subscribe.